I've unmuted everyone, and if anyone has a question.
Stuart, I have a question. When there's a feeling of extreme tension at the base of the spine, what do you recommend doing in order to let the energy pass?
Well, by bringing 5 to 10% of your attention to the base of the spine, that will help. If you rotate slightly at the base of the spine, that will help. You can even squeeze your buttocks, and that'll draw energy through the sex to the base of the spine, and that will help. Just little exercises you can do that helps to break up that kind of tension. And a lot of times it's really the Kundalini that's wanting to rise, and the tension and the blockage is caused by our resistance to do it. So we have to go deep enough in ourselves to really surrender, to let go of that resistance, which is keeping the energy from rising. I mean, this happens very often. You know, it happens in every chakra, mostly because of the way we are conditioned to live. And this meditation is forcing us to change inside. And there's always resistance to change. I mean, if you want to change a toothpaste, you can stand a half hour in the pharmacy examining 25 different toothpastes before you make a decision, you know? There's something in human beings that have a very difficult time changing. There's a lot of resistance to change. And a lot of what you asked about, Ben, is that, you know, that energy is moving to the base of the spine, and it's really asking you to open, and there's resistance to allowing that process to take place.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question? Hmm? Does somebody have a question?
Stuart, my question was going to be about resistance, and I find it interesting that it came up. Can you talk a little bit about why? Why are we such resistant creatures?
You know, why are we so comfortable in the world that we live? There's a lot of discomfort, but we're even comfortable with the discomfort because at least we know what we have. So we have to change. And there's all of that resistance because, you know, we're familiar with the world we live in. We're familiar with our aches and pains. We're familiar with the things that make us happy. We're familiar with the people in our lives. We're familiar with everything. And then when this energy comes along, and in order to develop the chakra system, we have to undergo a deep inner change. So that familiarity, you know, creates resistance. I mean, it's like alcoholics. You know, thank God nobody here is an alcoholic. At least I don't think so. You know, but the resistance of letting go of the thing that's killing them. Junkies, letting go of the thing that's killing them. I mean, the surrender and the letting go is 90% of the battle. People that live in safe, what they think is safe worlds. To me, there's no such thing as a safe world. But people that live in some kind of minimalized security that they think is protecting them against life. You know, I mean, there's a lot of resistance to change. I mean, when I was a kid, the thing that scared me the most, that I would grow up and live in a 3-car garage house with 4 television sets and a white picket fence. Scared the shit out of me when I was 18 years old. That's the direction my family wanted for me in my life. And it scared the hell out of me. And yet this is the American dream. The white picket fence, 3 television sets, 2 cars, you know? And really, there's nothing wrong with that if you really accept it and are happy with it. But, you know, go into those houses and you don't find a lot of happy people. I mean, look at this thing with Bill Gates and his wife, you know, worth $125 billion, and they can't keep a marriage together, you know? So all that 60,000 square foot house, it's a veneer for unhappiness. People are not happy. And why aren't they happy? Because the inner life, you understand, is not developed. When your inner life is developed, the one place you get security from is from God. Because everything else is transient. It comes and goes. And yet in the mind, we seek transient things and try to manufacture some kind of security out of them. There's, again, not saying we shouldn't have houses, but don't let them represent God. Don't let them represent what you think is some kind of security. Because the only real security is connection with higher energy in the universe. It's infinite. It's beyond all human comprehension, and it's infinite in the universe. That's what resistance is, change. Getting so used to the way we live that it's almost impossible for people to change. And yet life gets stale, you know? I mean, I've been living here in Connecticut. I made a commitment to my daughter, but in the midst of it all, I literally am living in a museum here that I've developed around myself because I need something that's beautiful and energy and, you know, that enables me to take a risk, you know, that I don't feel this kind of security in myself. Well, you know, money and this and that, you know, it's all bullshit. And I know things are going to change because I bought today this extraordinary yantra. I mean, unbelievable thing, you know? And it represents everything I'm talking about. So change is in the wind, it's in the air. Major change.
What's a yantra, Stuart?
It's a Hindu kind of I don't know, it's an energy field in Hinduism. It usually comes like a mandala, but it's made in sculpture. And it's a very powerful thing. It's a very powerful thing. Kidding around, I used to go to India, China, Nepal, looking for art, Europe, all over Europe. Now I go to North Carolina, Georgia, it's just Texas. It's just really funny to me. Rhode Island, you know. Well, the world has changed. Finding wonderful things that give a spark, that make my life more interesting. So what I'm saying is we have to find that way. I mean, now with the help of Tom Tompkins, the spark for writing is starting to come back. God bless him. And that's what happens as you develop an inner life. You're connected to what's in. So there's always something that generates inspiration, change, vitality, newness. I hope it's clear what I'm talking about, because that's how you overcome resistance. And that's how you develop a really strong inner life. Taking a chance, being willing to step one step outside the boundary of where you ordinarily live, to take a chance. And instead of burying oneself in this false security that people live with. I used to see Rudy doing this all the time. I remember we were going to India and I flew to New York from Texas. I walked into his gallery. I said, Stuart, I'm not sure we're going to be able to go. So I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you know, he promised, I had no money. None of his students, he had 4 students. None of us had any money. He was going to pay for it. And it was fairly cheap then. You know, we could stay at the Taj Mahal Hotel for $18 a night. You know, it was a different world then. And he said, well, Stuart, I don't have the money to do this. Anyway, I watched him that day sit and do some deep exercises in himself. And by the end of the day, he had made so much money. He looked at me with a smile on his face. It's all right, we're going, you know? And it's part of learning how to give, you know? Understand, learning how to give, not being afraid to give, not being afraid to offer something up from yourself to help another human being. I mean, even with these classes, you know, Tony, you know, a year ago said, well, why don't you charge money for these classes? I said, Tony, I don't want to be bothered chasing people for money. He said, well, so he did it. He sent out these, no, he sends them out every month. And to me, it's very interesting. I said, well, say $5. Who cannot afford $5 for one of these classes? And I would say 20% of the people that come here can't afford $5 for a class. They don't pay anything. And I find it very interesting because those people are more crippled than the people that can give $100, $200. You know, there's something so frightened in themselves that they can't afford to pay $5 for a class that's literally priceless. What goes on in these meditations. So it makes me laugh. I say, I said, okay, these people they have to be in the class because they're crippled inside. I mean, a cup of coffee at Starbucks costs $5, for God's sake. So this is all what I'm talking about. It's giving unconditionally, giving because one is grateful. And then what comes back is 100-fold, 1,000-fold. Because there's room to receive. When you can't, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? There's no room to receive anything inside. That's how you overcome resistance. Unconditional giving with love, with gratitude, being willing to sacrifice something in your life because of the love you have for another person, for, a spiritual class, for something that is making your life better. You have to contribute to it. If you don't contribute to it, you get nothing. I mean, when I was with Rudy, I used to scrape fire escapes. I would clean out lofts. God knows what I used to do when I was studying with him. And it was all out of gratitude. This man had given me my life. Oh, well, you're really, bullshit. Gave you my life. Anything to interfere with my willingness to open my heart and do something to help, it was pure ego, self-importance. And look what's come back. Look what's come back. I don't have a comfortable life. And I'm ready to, change Connecticut for something else. I mean, my whole life has always been about starting over, really, always starting over. But it always includes people who I love and people who I'm willing to surrender something in order to nurture them so that they can grow in their life, to serve God, not to serve Stuart and Stuart's comfort and Stuart's this and that, but to serve God, what I have to do on this earth to serve God. I hope that's clear because, to have a spiritual life, the first person you have to overcome is yourself. And there's no way better to overcome yourself than learning how to give unconditionally and receive unconditionally. And how to overcome the resistance that's so built up. It's almost like plaque inside a person. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
I have a question, Stuart.
Yes.
The resistance talk struck something in me. I've been letting go. My brother leaves tomorrow, and I've been dropping tension a lot lately. And I find that I sit and I drop tension at least 5 times a day. And I know it's not too much. My resistance seems to be letting go of the tension. I try, I sit, I do the exercise, and I'm still filled with this last 6 weeks of caring for him. And I'm wondering, I can't do it too much. Is that correct?
What, to let go of tension? No,
Yeah.
do it 20 times a day. Do it 20 times a day.
Okay.
But change your routine a little bit. I mean it. Change your routine. Do things that you don't ordinarily do in your life. Do something that will refreshen your energy. That will, you got to do that, and then
Get out of the rut.
Get out of your rut, whatever the rut is. Sometimes the rut is wonderful things. It's a rut. Then sometimes it's hell you're living through. And sometimes it's boredom and lethargy. And, you got to change the rut that you live in. And we all have our little ruts that we live in. That's why I'm really excited about starting a center. Although, as I say, I run ashrams and I run meditation centers. And, I said, what do I need that for? But then, okay, I need it. I need to change the way I'm living now. I've done my service to my daughter, and she's come out of this. I'm telling you, it's incredible what's happened for her in her life. And it was me making the commitment. And, it was really wonderful. As I told you before, I thought it would be through meditation that she would do that, but it wasn't. It was when I stopped meditating with her and I tuned into her and I said, what does she want, Stuart? Not what I want for her. What does she want? And when I started doing it, the whole energy started changing. You know, and boy, incredible things have happened. I'm talking incredible, like, my God, you know, a 25-year-old kid. God bless her, you know, it's wonderful. I mean, her boyfriend made a gourmet meal tonight. That was, you know, like a, $300 meal for 3 people in a, in a restaurant. It was like, wow, you know?
Thank you, Stuart. That's very helpful.
Yeah, change your rut, find new ways of doing things. You know, I don't know, instead of drinking Coca-Cola, drink mineral water.
Change my tea.
You know, I mean, you know, instead of, change. I remember with Rudy, we used to go out for long walks before meditation class, just to take in the energy of New York City, you know? And you never knew what was going to happen from block to block, you know? But it changed. It was vital. And he said, one day, let's go to the 2nd Avenue. That was like 10 minutes before meditation. Get a couple of hot dogs. So we went down to the 2nd. We had a couple of hot dogs at the 2nd Avenue, which was kind of an iconic place. It was an iconic place in New York with the works.
That works. The weeks.
You never know what's going to work. You understand? You change it and suddenly it revitalizes you. It becomes something you laugh at, and and fun.
I would do it.
Do it, please. All of you do it. It'll refreshen your whole inner life. It'll change the way you approach your inner life. It'll make you more open to give, to receive. You're not going to be so protective against yourself. My God, I got to give $5. It's like a joke. At the same time, I have a lot of empathy for people that are in that situation because they really need to get broken down inside. Something has to really change in them, or this is what they got for the rest of their lives. I have a lot of empathy, and there's a place in my heart for everybody. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? And this is an interesting lecture talk because a lot of you are going to have to overcome the resistance you have to what I'm talking about. I think that's fantastic. Does anybody else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, well, God bless you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for really opening to receive this stuff that comes through me. As they say, it's not me talking. It's a higher force that truly does this. And I am very grateful to be part of what we're doing in these meditation classes. And hopefully someday the classes will be in person, which I think would be terrific. So bless you all. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you
Good night,
so much.
Stuart.
Night.
Good night, Stuart. Thank you.